We got a new healthcare plan. We're going to break it down for you guys. Give you all the deets, as the kids say. Do the kids say that? Kind of. At the very end of the show...
I don't spend a lot of time hanging out with the kids anymore.
Right. At the very end of the show, in hour two, how to correctly take a selfie of your breasts. A man explains it to Lena Dunham. How did that go over?
Oh my God.
Okay, so we'll see how that goes. We've got guns in Colorado classrooms. That should be fun. I'm going to start a countdown on the first murder there. And
we have a cat fight to close out the first hour. We have another cat. We used to have cat fights every day.
There's so much fun here. And the cat fight involves an old friend of mine.
An old friend.
A friend of mine, yeah, indeed. And then... finally, the disastrous story of what the cops did to protesters at Trump's inauguration. I did not know it was that bad. And so there are charges of molestation and rape. Damn. So it's a crazy show, everybody. Buckle up, brace for impact. John, go.
Okay. The Senate's version of the health care bill is now out in the wild, and it's basically as disastrous as we've been warning you for weeks now that it would be, although some of the specifics are a little bit different, and we're going to attempt to break down as much of it as is possible. So you're going to want to buckle up because it is a lot to take in all at once. We're going to be starting off, though, with how it changes Medicaid funding, or I should say how it massively cuts Medicaid funding. The Senate bill allows the 31 states that expanded Medicaid to continue getting federal funding through 2023, with reduced funding starting in 2021. The bill sharply curtails federal support for Medicaid expansion in 2024, likely causing many states to end the expansion. Separate from the expansion, the bill caps future federal funding per enrollee based on how much each state has spent historically. And so what you've got here is a little bit of an attempt to hide their goal. They don't want it to be as immediately apparent as in the House bill that they are going to kill this thing. And so they drag it out over the course of a few years. And so they delay its death, and then they sort of hide how they're going to kill it funding-wise. But the end result is very similar. And the CBO estimated that similar policies in the bill passed by the House would cut more than $800 billion from the program over a decade, which you can, of course, add to the proposed budget from Donald Trump, which cuts $600 billion from Medicaid there. And so we're talking about a massive cut to it, despite his many promises that he would defend it and there would be no cuts.
Yeah. So, real quick on that, the Senate version, which was supposed to be more moderate than the House version, cuts more for Medicaid than the House version does. So, when you find the more moderate version of a Republican, please let me know. Okay. They've been missing for decades. And maybe at the state level, some exist, but certainly at the national level, very few and far between. Some Republicans did complain about this bill. They complained it was not draconian enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to break down some of what they want a little bit later on.
Right. Now, John's got more for you on the details. And at the end, I'll tell you the effect of how they are going to cut your coverage, and give you specific details so you know how it affects you.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason we started with Medicaid here is that's the single biggest reason that in the House version so many are going to lose their coverage. There's other reasons as well, and they are in the Senate version. But the biggest single question I think that a lot of people who perhaps haven't known much about the bill might have is, does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions, possibly 10, possibly 20 million or more. We'll know once the CBO has a chance to take a look at it, and hopefully we'll know before they vote this thing into law. But let's move on to the subsidies. So how is this bill going to modify the way that your ability to afford health insurance actually goes down? So under the Affordable Care Act, it sets subsidies based on income. Sort of makes sense. If you don't make a lot of money, you're going to need more help paying for ever-increasing health insurance prices. It also tied them to a benchmark plan. So the second cheapest plan in a person's area that covers on average 70% of expected health costs is based on that. Well, they make a couple changes in the Senate bill. It resets the benchmark plan to one that only covers 58% of expected health costs there. And that is for all of them, not just for the second worst. So we assumed that for many people there would be lower subsidies, but we didn't know that for almost literally every single individual, you are going to be paying thousands of dollars more per year. And you can expect that as...
Yeah, just real quick, John. They, of course, Orwellian style named it the Better Care Act. But that right there shows you it is literally worse care.
And you will pay more for that worse care.
Yeah. So if you were covering 70% of an enrollee's costs and now you're covering 58%, well, that, again, by definition, it means you're paying more. You're going to pay more for your... remember why they complained about Obamacare? Oh, we're paying too much! We're paying too much! Now you're going to pay more. So what do they fix? You know what they fix. They didn't fix anything for you. Why do all these cuts to Medicaid, to increase your health care costs, etc.? For one and only one purpose. Because there's a giant tax cut at the end for the rich.
Yeah, and we got all the details on that coming up. So on the major part of the subsidies, they're going to sort of... I mean, look, to break down exactly how it's going to affect you, you'd have to look at charts. And the reason they do that is they want you to be confused about it. And so in those subsidies, you're going to be paying more, your coverage is going to be worse, but some people might be confused about that. On the particular area of subsidies that are for out-of-pocket expenses on your health insurance, there's no games like that. The Senate bill preserves them until 2019, then eliminates them altogether. They're just gone. Totally gone there. But don't worry, I'm sure the person who is very worried about their out-of-pocket health insurance costs, once it's eliminated, they'll just take it out of their investments, I guess. It'll be no problem, don't worry about it. So look, there's some of the ways that money is being modified here. But we're not just interested in how much more you're going to have to pay for your health insurance. We're interested in what your health insurance is worth to you. What does it actually cover and what does it not cover? And they've got some pretty devastating changes coming there as well. The bill allows states to apply for waivers for a number of different things, like the House bill, including eliminating essential health benefits coverage, which sounds bad even just when you read it like that.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, guys. This is going to be better care, except you'll no longer have essential health benefits.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
It's too bad. I thought they were essential. And I mean, we're talking about some pretty big things there, like mental health coverage and addiction-related coverage, also things like pregnancy and maternity care. I mean, there's a chance that some of you might want to get pregnant someday. I know it's rare, but some of you might want to and expect that you might pay tens of thousands of dollars more after this change.
If you're a woman, that might seem essential to you, but if you're a dude, it's not. So get point, counterpoint.
Yeah.
And this was, of course, done by Mitch McConnell's office, filled to the rim with dudes. So they're like, hey, any of you guys think maternity care is essential? No, all right, we're all agreed, not essential anymore, we're moving forward.
Yeah. And by the way, on that same graphic, in addition to allowing them to opt out of the essential benefits coverage, as we previewed a little bit over a week ago, they are also going to be getting rid of the prohibitions on annual and lifetime limits, which means that if inside of a year or in the course of your entire lifetime, if you get really sick, especially with chronic illnesses, and it costs a lot, they can cap you out, and your health insurance, which again, you'll be paying more for, will suddenly be worthless to you. And
I got to pause on that, too, because to me that's one of the most devastating parts of this. What the hell is the point of insurance if you can get capped out? So, okay, look, I break my arm, you pay for it, we'll all survive, right? And okay, that's one part of insurance. I don't know if that's non-essential now.
Like an emergency.
Right? Yeah. The other temporary things that can get solved. But the more important part of insurance is, if I get cancer, are you going to cover me? Well, if you say, yeah, I'm going to cover you for the first 10,000, 100,000, make it up, right? 250,000. Okay, good, but what if it goes longer than that? What if it's really bad? Well, then you die.
Yeah.
What? Wait a minute. Or, hey, well, don't you have a couple $1 million to cover it? No, that's why I got insurance, right? And if insurance is allowed to say, I'll only cover the cheap stuff, but if you get something serious, I mean, obviously I'm going to let you die.
Yeah.
That's not real insurance.
And it's in the bill. Yeah, now imagine if you have a kid, and the kid has some sort of genetic issue or some sort of childhood cancer, which is a tragedy of its own. Well, welcome lifetime limits. That kid may find by the time they hit 10 or 20 or 30, that's it for them for the rest of their life. And I saw somebody tweeted about that, and a Trump supporter responded with, well, then that kid's just going to have to rely on the community or charities or something like that.
Oh,
and there was a response. Imagine being the Timmy needs bootstraps guy when it comes to childhood cancer treatments. But that's in the bill. That is not just a Twitter conversation. That could be law soon.
No, let's just remember that this is the party that calls itself pro-life. Oh, you get pregnant. Hey, it ain't essential to me, man. But wait a minute, I thought you wanted to protect the baby. I mean, I want to make sure that I put restrictions on how you deal with your own medical issues. But protect the baby. No, no. You pay for it any way you like, and if you can't pay for it, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
Oh, and if your baby's sick, I definitely don't want to protect it.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in your life, okay? Pro-life's a gimmick. It doesn't actually mean that I'm going to pass laws to put that into effect.
Yeah. And look, I know we're throwing a lot at you, but I got a couple things coming up that there's a lot of coverage, thankfully, of this Senate bill. Although, interestingly, I noticed not a lot on either Breitbart or Fox News. For some reason, the conservatives aren't that interested in it. But there's a couple of things that I've noticed, even in the coverage of it, is not getting nearly enough discussion. I think that some people are missing important points of this. And one has to do with coverage for pre-existing conditions. So it was revealed this morning that the bill still requires coverage for pre-existing conditions. And so a lot of people are thinking, oh my God, that's great, victory. They're not going to reverse on that. Although, of course, they could once they mesh it with the House bill, which allows you to stop that. But what they're missing is that pre-existing conditions, that's one thing in rhetoric, but what is it actually worth? Well, it's not worth nearly as much if they have to cover you for the pre-existing conditions, but not for a number of things that are no longer considered essential, and they don't have to cover you for that. Or if they have to cover you for pre-existing conditions, but only up to a certain amount per year or over the course of your life because of these new lifetime and annual limits. They will hide behind saying that they're still covering pre-existing conditions, but you might well find that in your experience, the experience of someone in your family, it is not worth a damn in practice. And a lot of people are being drawn in by the hype of it still being in there, not realizing that they are being swindled.
I mean, look, you name it dozens of diseases, but rare disease, hepatitis, cancer, whatever. Think about the year-long cap. So let's say that you're in a world of trouble, you're getting treatment. God, thank God you made it to October. Oh no, you hit your yearly cap. Anyway, November and December is dying season. Enjoy. What does that mean, a yearly cap?
Don't worry, you're still covered for your pre-existing condition.
What does a yearly cap mean? That's insane. Then it's not really insurance. What if you hit the cap in April? Hey, listen, hang on till January 1st. After January 1st, we're back to being pro-life for a couple of months.
Yeah. Yes, I've experienced that for little things. Like, I hit my dental cap last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's teeth. I'll live. But it's not my life. I was able to go a few months before having, a little bit more done. But if it's your life, if it's your child's life, imagine. And they are trying to make that law right now. Another area where they're going to screw you over, one of the things that the ACA protected against was hugely disparate costs for insurance between the youngest and the oldest Americans. Obviously, older Americans generally going to have higher health insurance costs. Doesn't necessarily mean that insurance shouldn't be allowed to charge them as much as they possibly want. Well, that's about to change. So we can bring up this graphic comparing the difference in restrictions on charging more for older Americans. The new bill will allow older customers to be charged 5 times or more than the younger ones.
Okay, so silver lining here, there's actually only one other group than the incredibly rich that benefit from this new proposal, and that's the young and healthy. So if you're young and healthy, you don't have the mandate anymore. You can skip out on insurance and try to roll the dice and see how it goes for you. Or even if you get the insurance, it costs less for you because the insurance for the young and healthy doesn't cost that much because you almost never use it. So the insurance companies go, okay, yeah, I'll charge you less. But the trade-off for that is, well, if you're older, I'm going to charge you a lot more.
Yeah.
And that's when you need it more. So they're allowed to charge you 5 times as much.
Yeah, and on individual procedures, it can be far more than that. And there's a lot of people right now that are young, and a lot of those people think that they're healthy. Some of them actually are, but most are not nearly as healthy as they think they are. I know what the American diet does to Americans. And you might be in good shape now, you might feel good now. In 6 to 10 years, you are going to desperately need this coverage, and you might find yourself paying far more for it.
But besides which, I mean, look, they told you, older Americans, that that we got your back. And a lot of older Americans voted much more heavily towards Republicans.
Yeah.
Now they just said, we were just messing with you, man. Of course my buddy's got to get tax cuts. No, you're going to pay 5 times more. Wait a minute. I thought the main thing against Obamacare was that it costs too much.
Yeah?
You're going to pay 5 times more if you're a senior citizen. Well, good luck, brother.
They'll be fine. Don't worry. Old people don't vote. But anyway, another thing that I think a lot of people covering this are missing, I've seen 1 or 2 discussions of it, but generally it's not being covered nearly enough, is a component in this bill that will, in just a few years, absolutely kill the entire system. It's designed to do that, and not enough people are recognizing it. So you had the individual mandate in the ACA. A lot of people hated it. A lot of right-wingers, a lot of left-wingers absolutely hated it. This bill eliminates both the individual mandate and the employer mandate, where if you had more than 50 employees, you had to provide health insurance. Unlike the House bill, which has the continuing coverage thing, which is its own disaster, this has no replacement for that. So think about how that actually functions in practice. Now you have a system that's increasingly expensive, that needs more and more money coming in. You now, under the Senate bill, have nothing requiring relatively or fully healthy people to be in the system. They can just opt out. There's no fee for that. There's no penalty for that. The penalty is still in law, but it will be $0 under the Senate bill, which means that after a year, after 2 years, especially after 5 years, the only people that will be in this system are the people who are sick. Which, if you want to talk about a death spiral, and they love that idea, they love pretending that Obamacare is in a death spiral now, they have designed in a death spiral to the Senate bill. It will kill the entire system. It's meant to kill the entire system because they don't want to be in the system with you. You sick, relatively poor people, they want to be on their own, like nice, gilded health insurance policies while you pay ever-increasing amounts until finally you're kicked off of your insurance in a few years.
Yeah, because if healthy people aren't in insurance, first of all, it's not real insurance. Second of all, what you have is prices that go way up because the insurance company, understandably, goes, wait a minute, everybody that has this insurance is really sick. It's going to cost me a lot of money. So I'm going to charge you an arm and a leg, maybe quite literally. And so, wait, let's review again what the problem with Obamacare was. It cost too much money. So, and McConnell, when in January, talked about all of the problems with Obamacare, it doesn't cover enough people. You just chopped off at least 20 million people, very likely according to the CBO's measuring of the House bill and what it's going to do with the Senate bill, we'll find out. But about 20 million people of Medicare, so yours covers less. It costs way more for the majority of people, based on some of the provisions that John just explained. It can cost so much that it's completely untenable for you to have it.
Yeah, which means far more people. That's outside of the 20 million.
And it covers less. So which part got better? Oh, right. The hundreds of billions of dollars in tax cuts for the rich.
Well, why don't we turn to that now, actually? As we've been saying here at TYT for a long time, the entire reason that this ACA repeal debate has been going on since it was passed was so that eventually Republicans could get rid of the new taxes that the ACA put into effect and throw literally hundreds of billions of dollars at the richest people in the country. Well, you will be shocked to find out that the Senate bill repeals the tax on investment income, the tax on the wealthy to finance the Medicare program, which is that's the reason we have so many more people on insurance is because of that tax. A tax on tanning salons, the tax on health insurance industry, and the medical device industry. All of the substantive taxes that were in the ACA will be removed under the Senate bill, which makes it, that's probably the area where it's closest to the House bill, by the way. And that is a huge amount that is going to be thrown to the richest Americans. We've already broken down how many people are going to lose health insurance, are going to be paying more for crappier health insurance. But I would like to show you in one graphic, if we could bring up graphic 35, this infographic, it is going to show that the tax cuts in this bill for the top 400 individuals equals federal spending cuts for Medicaid for Nevada, West Virginia, Arkansas, and Alaska together. All of those thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people will be thrown off their insurance so that the richest 400 people in the country can be just a little bit richer.
Now, why did you think that the Republicans hated Obamacare? You think they were really concerned that the poor and the middle class weren't treated well enough by Obamacare? That the premiums were too high and there was no cost control? And that the corporations involved in healthcare would be making too much money? You think that's why the Republicans cared? Of course not! There was only one reason why they cared. That's my donor class right there. That's $600 billion that's taken out of their pockets and used to provide insurance for millions of Americans.
Yeah.
We don't want to serve millions of Americans. They don't donate to us at all. But those top 400 wealthy people in the country, they're the people we serve. They write our checks. Who do you think I work for? These are the Republican senators now coming out going, hello, McFly. Where do you think I got my... You think that big government is corrupted. You're right. Who do you think corrupted them? Poor people? No. The people with the biggest amount of money that wrote giant checks for these guys are the ones who corrupted them. This is their Christmas gift.
And the cool thing is it works out really well for them. They throw all that money at those 400 individuals, and a tiny fraction of it comes back to the Republicans in the next cycle.
That's exactly right. And two last things on who's affected. So Obama had expanded Medicaid to if you made 138% above the poverty line. If you say, wow, 138%, oh my God, these guys are, making the poor live in the lap of luxury. You know what that is? It's if you make $15,000 a year. Oh, so they'd cover you if you made $15,000 a year. I don't know how in the world you can get insurance and pay for it yourself if you don't have Medicaid at making $15,000 a year.
It's going to be incredibly difficult even then.
Okay, so now that's gone. Okay, so sad day for you. We were not expanding it to 138% above the poverty line. So if you're below the poverty line, okay, but you're living in the lap of luxury at $14,200 a year. Fend for yourself, man. I got billionaires that need tax cuts.
Just cut out lobster once a week.
Yeah. Now,
one less lobster.
So that's the poor. How about the middle class? So under the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, you had to contribute a certain percentage of your income if you were in the middle class. Now, that makes sense. If you didn't do that, the Republicans would say, freeloaders. They say, no, you have to provide incentives for people, and they got to pay a little bit in. Okay, fine, fair enough. And it went all the way up to 9.7%. So if you were getting some sort of coverage and help from the government, you still had to put in 9.7% at the highest rates. The highest rates meaning 400% above the poverty level. So that's not bad. If you're a family of four, that's $97,000. So that's the middle class, right? Now, they cut that from 400% to 350%. Maybe you could live with that. That's a Republican. I mean, I don't like the middle class that much, right? But what they also did was, no. Now you got to put in a lot more of your income. So if you're a 60-year-old person in this country who makes $35,640, middle class, right? $35,000
regular job.
Yeah, not a lot of money, but you're not poor. You're hanging in there. $35,640. Now you're going to have to put in 16.2% of all of your income into healthcare.
So they almost doubled it.
Yeah, they almost doubled it. You got to pay more into healthcare, and your healthcare is going to cover less stuff. And you better not hit your yearly cap in April, because otherwise you die. Yeah. So, but to be fair, the rich did need a couple $100 billion. Yeah. And so they've got that back now. Whew. I mean, look, I'll give you one example. Sheldon Adelson, huge Republican donor. On this bill alone, on one provision of this bill, not the entirety, one provision of this bill, will make $44 million extra in 2017. In 1 year. Now, if you're making $15,000 a year, maybe you don't have health insurance. On the other hand, Sheldon Adelson has $44 million more. Yeah. But let's be fair now. The poor son of a bitch needed it because he only has $36 billion. Yeah. So if we lived in a democracy and we actually had, is there more middle-class voters or more billionaire voters? Not complicated. They would serve us. They would serve the middle class. They'd serve the poor. They'd serve a greater number of people. But we don't live in a democracy. We live in a system where you can legally bribe politicians. So guess who they work for? And especially the Republicans here. They thought, I'm going to kick off a couple of, I'm going to kick off 20 million people from health insurance, and you're going to get less health insurance and all this. But on the other hand, the donor that gave me a couple of $1 million, I just made a return on investment for him about 2,000%. Yeah. That donor is really happy, and he's going to finance all the rest of my campaigns. Private financing for the win. No. What private financing of elections does is it allows for legalized bribery. that is, in this case, literally killing us.
Yeah, and just briefly, let's make this as stark as possible. So you cited $44 million that Sheldon Adelson, just one rich guy, would get in just 1 year. What could that be used for if we weren't giving him that tax break for that 1 year? It could cover the government's Medicaid bill to cover 7,670 Americans per year. Well, think that's an entire little town that could have health insurance. But no, Sheldon Adelson needs a little bit more money. That to him is nothing but, it's not even a zero on a bank statement. It's nothing on a bank statement. He literally will not know that he has this money.
This is just based on this healthcare law and his casino holdings. If he were to sell some of his casino holdings, his tax advantage would be even higher. And it doesn't take into account all of his other holdings. So the $44 million is a really conservative number. He'll actually save a lot more. So if you're wondering, why does Adelson spend so much money in politics? This doesn't even involve the tax cuts they're going to do later.
Yeah.
The big tax cuts are after the healthcare bill.
Yeah, this isn't the tax cut bill. This is just the healthcare bill.
So that's why he does it, because he makes so much. And by the way, he also gets to lower the wages of his employees. He gets so many other advantages, trade advantages, let alone now all of a sudden the legal issues he has goes away, and all this. That's why they buy the politicians, because it's a great investment. And so if it turns out a village no longer has coverage, but look, then that's your problem, not Adelson's problem with the Republican water carriers. But last thing for me on that is there no end to the greed?
There is no end.
I mean, if you have $36 billion, there isn't anything you couldn't buy. And the guy's like 98 years old. What are you going to buy with $36 billion? No, I needed $44 million more this year. And by the way, his investment income from the sands alone is about $1.1 billion this year. That's $44 million on top of the $1.1 billion, on top of all of his other investments and income. But it's not enough. It's not enough. So they got to cut your health.
And how many of those 7,600 people will die?
It's not enough. Keep on digging. The Balrog is right there. I could almost see it.
One other component, in our continuing coverage of this entire healthcare debacle, I believe earlier this week, I warned you that it was likely that in the Senate bill, they would completely throw under the bus the people currently suffering, the millions of people across the country currently suffering in the opioid epidemic. That was what we believed would be in the bill. That is what's in the bill. And they are trying to fool you by including a little bit of money. The VCRA would appropriate $2 billion in 2018 to fund state grants to boost treatment and recovery services for those struggling with drug addiction and mental health disorders, which might sound like, wow, $2 billion. That sounds really good. Perhaps not. Just two key Republican senators from states hardest hit by the opioid crisis were asking for $45 billion over the next 10 years. That's for two of the states. And that is actually, it turns out, a conservative ask. Those who are experts on the opioid epidemic say that over 10 years to truly deal with this across the country, we would need to appropriate $190 billion. They gave two. Because screw those people suffering from the opioid epidemic. Screw those people, many of whom were Trump supporters, many of whom enthusiastically supported for Republican congressmen, senators, and the president. What's going to happen to them now? Continue to suffer with the addiction until many of them die.
Okay, so the $190 billion covers not only drug addiction costs, but also the diseases
that come about as a result of the addiction.
That's right.
Yeah.
The $45 billion just covers drug addiction.
Yeah.
The $2 billion just covers not a goddamn thing.
Yeah. Okay. It covers their ass, maybe.
Yeah, but what it does, so why did they even bother putting in the $2 billion when even the draconian House bill had $45 billion over 10 years, right? Because of marketing. So they could turn around and go, did you know that Obamacare didn't have anything for opioid coverage? Yeah, that's because they passed it in 2009 and the epidemic had not begun at that point. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. They don't need to be right. They just need to be able to trick you. So Obamacare had nothing for opioid. We put in $2 billion in the Senate bill. Come on, how generous are we? Leaving out the fact that you would need a minimum, actually 45 billion, let alone the one
and many of the people that theoretically were using their health insurance to deal with the addiction are going to be thrown off of their health insurance. So what we covered in that story was how many of those people, a huge percentage, state by state, that get treatment for their addiction problems, and again, the diseases that come about from the addiction, through the Medicaid expansion. We're not talking about small numbers. We're talking about like 40 to 60% on a state-by-state basis. Those people will now be thrown to the wolves, and hopefully they'll get some small amount of that $2 billion.
And in reality, like John is pointing out, you're actually going to get less money, not a positive $2 billion, less money for opioid addiction, because when you take into account the Medicaid cuts. But the marketing will say, we increased opioid coverage by $2 billion. What more do these people want? So, if you don't just look right behind their ads, you won't have any sense of how draconian the Republicans are. But that's what our job here is, to break down the news and tell you what the reality is.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if you're looking for Trump to deliver on his promise that he's going to help families suffering from opioid addiction, you've come to the wrong place. Okay.
Do we want to take our first break?
Yes.
We're going to have responses from both some of the Republicans who apparently aren't buying it, at least as of today. And we also have some great responses from former President Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren as well.
A progressive future requires a different kind of financial industry. I'm Joe Sandberg. I'm co-founder of Aspiration.com, online financial firm you can fall in love with. The American financial industry came to serve itself and profit. I believe in a different path for business. Business should be about serving people, and that profit is a byproduct of serving people well. Aspiration.com is about our customers and our movement. We use what we call pay what's fair. You as the customer have the power to choose your fee. We trust you that if we do a good job for you, you'll choose to pay us. 10% of the fees that you choose to pay, we give to charity. Many of you are passionate about the environment and reversing the effects of climate change, but many of you also may be banking at a big institution that funds things like Dakota Access. It made clear what's inherently broken about Wells Fargo and so much of the financial industry. These organizations are obsessed not with serving people, but with serving themselves and their profit. You can stop Doppel by taking your money out of banks that fund and put your money into financial institutions like Aspiration.com. You don't have to sacrifice your values to do well financially. And that's why our motto at Aspiration is do well, do good. What we have a popular fossil fuel free, firearm free, private prison free, sustainable investing fund at Aspiration called the Redwood Fund. And the minimum is just $100. The power and future is yours to determine. The choices you make with your money matter. And that's why we built Aspiration, because there's a different, better way to deliver both great banking and investing services that meet your needs and also match your values.
Hey, Jake, what's up?
And my VCR keeps flashing 12, but it's not even midnight. Go.
What date are we reporting this?
Oh my God, it's 4:20. We'll be right back.
Please stand by.
A few minutes later, a little longer than a few minutes later, one eternity later.
Alright, okay. 420 also. It's begun already, dude. It's begun. Okay, so we got a break. There's some chance we did something.
2 days. That's. You never walked into a factory, they always have about how many days without an accident? 2.
Young Turks King John with you. I am Sock writes in, I thought pay to play was bad enough. Now it's pay to live. Brian Newton writes in, can we get a breakdown list of every casino, hotel, business Sheldon Adelson owns and boycott the hell out of them? Well, I know he owns the Venetian, which I must admit I have frequented from time to time. They do have good Dan noodles there. But don't worry, Brian. I did take them down for literally dozens and dozens of dollars.
But maybe in a couple of years we can go to some of those casinos and talk to some of his employees who've been thrown off their health insurance.
Yeah. Well, we do have reporters. So Aaron Shu writes in, imagine how many lead pipes in Flint $44 million could replace. Excellent point, Aaron. Okay, John, what's next?
Okay, more on the healthcare bill. The Senate healthcare bill certainly hasn't been well received by Democrats, which might not be surprising. And we are going to play some of those for you, but it also received a cool reception from some Republicans, at least for now. Senators Rand Paul of Kentucky, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, Ted Cruz of Texas, and Mike Lee of Utah said in a joint statement they're, quote, not ready to vote for this bill. And I am, quote, not ready to rely on Mike Lee to protect people from having their health insurance taken away. But they also said, currently, for a variety of reasons, we are not ready to vote for this bill, but we are open to negotiation and obtaining more information before it is brought to the floor, which I read as open to negotiation and obtaining more of what they want before it's brought to the floor. So we're going to get a little bit specific about what they want. We've got Ted Cruz, but right now we're going to go to Rand Paul talking about this bill.
I don't think there's anybody in America that's more against Obamacare than myself. As a physician, I've seen the ravages of it. I've traveled to 42 states running on repeal of Obamacare. I just didn't run on Obamacare Light. I didn't run on replacing it with more government programs. I didn't run on allowing the death spiral of Obamacare to continue just to subsidize with taxpayer money. Look, we're $500 billion in debt right now. There is no money to keep subsidizing insurance. There is no money to expand Medicaid unless you want to raise taxes. We're actually cutting taxes.
Unless you want to raise taxes. Oh, yeah, I do, actually. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's continue to do that.
Oh, we're actually in so much debt. And that, did I leave out the part where I have $600 billion in tax cuts for the rich in this bill? Oh, right, and I want more. Rand Paul, who pretends to be a libertarian or for freedom. When these days, when Republicans talk about freedom, they mean the freedom of the rich to not pay taxes. So, hey, look at that: $500 billion deficit, $600 billion in taxes. I do believe that there is a way that you can make that deficit go away. Well, you want to do that? No, don't touch the rich. Don't touch. I travel 42 states and talk to all the billionaires in those states, and they tell me about the ravages of Obamacare to their pocket.
They just want freedom. I honestly think, we get sold this idea of freedom, but freedom under someone like Rand Paul is you in the woods with a stick surrounded by wolves. That is your freedom. You're free to run or fight, maybe. Maybe you run away, maybe you fight the wolves. But so he wants more. He doesn't think that this goes far enough to repeal the ACA. And so theoretically, to get him on board and to get his vote, they are going to have to go farther, which potentially causes other Republicans to turn against it, at least theoretically.
So when I saw the headline that 4 Republican senators had already said they're not going to vote for it, after all this time, I'm still a little bit naive. I thought, oh, here we go, Susan Collins and some of the so-called moderate Republicans.
Yeah.
No.
It's the craziest.
No, it was the Republicans who say, this is not vicious enough. We have to kick more people off of Medicaid. We have to kick more people off of health insurance. We have to make sure you get less for your health insurance. This guy, I'm a physician. So is Zawahiri, the man in charge of Al Qaeda now. It doesn't convince me of anything. So they found a physician to bribe, and that guy's name is Rand Paul. And he got bribed by the richest people in America who wanted $600 billion in tax cuts.
Yeah.
Now, this bill makes it, you have to pay more for your health care. It's a fact, okay? And you get less health care. It's a fact. And he says, not good enough. I want you to pay more for your health care, and I want you to get less benefits so that my donors, I mean the people I talk to in 42 states, can get bigger tax cuts. And to him and his donors, that's freedom.
Yeah. Well, look, he said, as a physician, I've seen the ravages of Obamacare, which is probably a lie because he's been a senator forever. I don't think he's actually been treating people's sprained ankles over the past few years. But this will actually help him.
I just think that's a really funny point. That he's like, I went to Alaska and I saw the ravages of Obamacare. I mean, I set 3 shoulders and and somebody had cancer. I did a quick chemo on them, and then there's some CPR on some people. No, you're a senator.
You went to a lunch.
When you came to California, let me guess what you did. You went to a fundraiser.
Yes.
Okay.
And by the way, but this will accomplish his goal. He will not have to see those ravages because many of those people will no longer be able to go to his practice to get health insurance.
Further, John, you opened a little bit of a can of worms. Physicians see this happening. They deal with getting money after they do procedures, not what's happening when come back to the doctor and say, hey, doc, you did that procedure on me. Whatever it was, I broke my wrist. I can't afford it. And they go, oh, I feel so bad for you, my patient. No, you never talk to that doctor. You just get bills.
Exactly.
Bills. You don't talk to the doctor about the ravages of what you're going through. They don't care anymore. They're like, oh, we're billing someone and someone's paying me. Whoever's credit's getting jacked up or whoever's losing jobs over this has nothing to do with where I'm practicing.
And by the way, the doctors sometimes do get squeezed. But you think that you're getting squeezed by the poor? No, you're getting squeezed by corporations who want to pay you less because the more they squeeze out of both the customers and the doctors, the more it goes towards their bottom line. That's who's squeezing you.
Yeah. So that was Rand Paul. We also have Ted Cruz. Let's bring up a picture that was tweeted out of apparently some of his demands. You're seeing there that he wants consumer freedom up. He's laid up this path to yes. These little notes that he's handing around the Senate. So yeah, he wants. So right now you have. All these health insurance plans have to have certain amounts of coverage under the ACA. He says that if a company offers one plan that matches those, they should be able to have as many as they want that give absolutely no coverage whatsoever. Basically, what we had before there was the ACA, he wants us to return to that. If we could bring that graphic up for one more second, you're going to see that there's a couple of planks on his path to yes.
So, by the way, you also get freedom to get cancer.
Yeah, exactly. Real flexibility for Medicaid means even more cuts to Medicaid there. Reach a real agreement to rein in the long-term growth of Medicaid means that there will be no growth of Medicaid. We will chop it off at the knees. And here's the thing, he's saying that he wants more cuts to Medicaid. One of the biggest components of this Senate bill is that it kills the growth of Medicaid. So what does he want? What he wants, really, is what a lot of Republicans want, but often won't say. He wants Medicaid gone entirely. Not just to stop it growing, they want to kill it. They've been fighting that battle for literally decades now.
And Trump said he wouldn't cut anything for Medicaid. By anything, he apparently didn't mean $800 billion.
Yeah.
So, well, we're going to cut $800 billion, but is that really breaking my campaign promise? Not to my donors, it's not.
Yeah. So that's the Republicans. Obviously, a lot of Democrats not happy with the Senate bill. A lot of the Senate Democrats have been on the warpath on this, and they continue to be now that we have the actual details, now that they can actually see what's in it as well. First, here we have Elizabeth Warren with incredibly uncompromising rhetoric.
Medicaid is the program in this country that provides health insurance to 1 in 5 Americans, to 30 million kids, to nearly 2 out of every 3 people in a nursing home. These cuts are blood money. People will die. Let's be very clear. Senate Republicans are paying for tax cuts for the wealthy with American lives.
And I want to hear that more.
So now that was good, strong rhetoric.
That was strong. Very specific and, like I said, uncompromising. We also have Bernie Sanders.
The essence of what this bill does is make massive cuts in healthcare programs for working families while giving outrageous tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country. And that is not what this nation is supposed to be about, and it's not what the American people want. People don't think that we should throw millions of people off of Medicaid, substantially raise premiums for older workers, defund Planned Parenthood, while making the very richest people in this country even richer.
It's a pleasure to have at least two senators who are speaking frankly about things. In the past, we had Bernie Sanders and TV wouldn't even cover him.
Yeah.
And so now we've at least got some progressives on our side in power. So that's refreshing.
We could show you more. We have time limits obviously, but Kamala Harris has been tweeting nonstop about this, and she's been great. Chuck Schumer, he's technically saying the right thing, talking about this is a wolf in sheep's clothing and all that, but it's so wishy-washy. Don't say no. It's not a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a wolf, okay? It's going to kill people. There's no sheep. The sheep lost its health insurance and it died of cancer, okay? It's a fucking wolf.
Yeah, I miss the sheep's clothing. I think the wolf ate the sheep's clothing because there is no part of the bill where you're like, well, on the other hand.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is not bad.
Yeah, I mean, the two parts on the other hand are, the young and incredibly healthy pay a little bit less. But the people
temporarily
until they get older,
and then they will pay far more.
Right,
than they would have
or if they get sick, right? Which is the point of insurance, right? So everybody else pays more, gets less coverage, and of course, the only other part of it is that the rich get these massive tax cuts.
Yeah.
Look, another thing we're going to find out now is what is the state of the Republican Party, because there was some comical, in my opinion, punditry on television, as usual, saying, well, the House bill is incredibly draconian, but the Senate is filled with moderate Republicans. Well, look, hey, sheep's clothing, where are you? So we're going to find out. We're going to find out. So it might turn out that the Susan Collins of the world blocked this thing. They go, no.
Well, where are they today?
Yeah, because there's 52 Republican senators, so you can only lose 2 of them.
Yeah, where's Lisa Murkowski?
We're going to find out if there are in fact 3 moderate Republicans left in the country.
I'm glad that you mentioned that the Senate is filled with moderates. I mentioned this on the show a couple days ago. At one point, I think you might have been on the panel, we were covering the House bill, and someone on the panel said, why are we even wasting our time with this? It's never going to pass the House. And of course, within 48 hours, it passed the House. And then that was the other thing that we heard. It was like, you're wasting all your time on this House bill. It's never going to pass when it gets to the Senate. Life comes at you fast, okay? That's why we warn you about things like this, because so many people are so effing complacent. And there are a lot of people that, even before the election, before Donald Trump won, certainly before his inauguration, made a conscious decision that they are going to lie down on this. And they don't care what Donald Trump does. They don't care what the Republicans do. Their eyes are off 2 years, 4 years, 100 years in the future, and they are not going to be watching for this. They mock the resistance. They will provide no resistance, okay? This is happening. It's happening every day. And we're dealing with this now. In a couple of months, we got the tax bill, and I guarantee there are going to be people who are labeled as liberals and progressives saying it's never going to pass like that. It's not going to be that bad. And then a couple of days are going to pass, and suddenly we're going to be looking at a 66% cut to corporate taxes. There are people who are trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Some of them agree with you on a number of issues, but they obviously do not have your best interests at heart. This bill that couldn't be passed within a couple of days is proof of that.
Yeah. Let me lay down a marker now for you guys. The House and the Senate will pass a gigantic, humongous tax cut bill. They'll call it tax reform. It'll be, in fact, billions upon billions of, maybe trillions of dollars in tax cuts, and it'll pass like hot knife through butter. It'll be the easiest thing in the world, and it'll probably get some Democratic votes. So, well, we have to be bipartisan, and the people voted for Donald Trump, and, plus minorities like it. So that's what's going to happen. Anyone who tells you otherwise doesn't know one thing about politics. The one absolute rock solid guarantee in the Trump presidency is giant, unheard of, record-breaking tax cuts. And by the way, the whole point of repealing Obamacare is giant tax cuts. They just cut $600 billion of taxes for the rich, and they did it at your expense. And that's the appetizer.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to the entree yet.
Yeah, I love how that works. Someday they're going to pass a bill to rename an airport and provide $1 trillion in tax cuts. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they can do it.
This is the wolf in wolf's clothing.
Exactly. I guess we don't have time to read, unfortunately, Barack Obama's statements, but a lot of people were saying, where is he? I mean, his signature achievement is being taken away. But he did post something on Facebook, and it was great. It actually, if it hadn't been labeled as Barack Obama, I would have thought that Bernie Sanders had written it. But yeah, a lot of people obviously very disturbed about this. Right now, some of them are Republicans, but it is incredibly likely that they are just looking to get a little bit more money towards the opioid crisis, perhaps, or a little bit more cut for Medicaid. They're speaking big now, but they could easily sign on in a day or two. Anyway, we should probably take our second break of the hour.
Oh, yes. Okay, a lot more when we come back, including why Donald Trump says he doesn't want poor people in his government.
Choose the pony. Twilight Sparkle. Say goodbye to pesky obstacles with Twilight Magic Blast.
It's the post-game show. Brett Ehrlich and Kim Horcher join me.
I think there's an interesting thing to be written or done about the logic of repealing EPA regulations, because that is baby killing.
Yeah.
Like, you're a baby killer. Like, everything you're doing is aborting babies. And you can go specifically to, like, Monsanto and pesticides that end up creating birth defects that abort babies. So, in a way, that is an abortion clinic that you're starting by repealing FDA regulations and EPA regulations.
That's right. But we know what they really mean when they say that they're pro-life.
Right, and that's the thing for me is, like, I'm tired of everyone speaking in code and rushing to, like, confirm their pre-existing biases. I just want them to tell me what they're actually pissed about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems like with the things that we were talking about on one show we're like, people are okay with Trump having his own private server.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you got mad at someone else for that.
Her emails.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like, so, okay, it's fine. You know you're bullshit. I know you're bullshit. So tell me what you're actually mad about, because it's probably your dad.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably your mom and your dad, and that's why you're mad, and it's created this crazy shit from this probably very personal relationship you have with your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it, and you're angry and frustrated, and you're talking in strange codes and giving certain people passes and other people not. You read headlines and articles in this sprint to find some way to confirm what you already believe.
Yeah.
And you stop when you get it, and you don't read the end of it. Like, I get it, but tell me what you're actually mad about.
Okay, you know what? This is a good therapeutic exercise to close out the post-game show. Why don't we each state what we are the most angry about?
I'm the most angry about boycotts right now.
Oh.
Just like, boycott it, that thing's the worst. Like, if I were to get into a business right now, it would be litmus paper sales. Because everyone's like, litmus test on that, fuck you, boycott, delete.
Yeah.
And it's like, read the history of boycotts. Which ones are good and which ones are like, you weren't going to buy that shit anyway.
I am angry about willful ignorance. I am angry about throwing away data that we have applied intellectual power to for a reason. I am tired of the rejection of intellectualism or deciding that intellectual people are elitist or somehow they think they're better than you. Maybe they are. They know things, and you should try to know things about something. Forcing yourself into the dark is never going to bring us forward. It's never going to end up with a positive result.
For me. I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. All my life, I was told no. He said I had small hands. They're not small. I never heard that one before.
I got Young Turks. Some quick tweets for you guys. Elaine Zadak says, I would say that this news about the healthcare bill makes me sick, but it probably doesn't cover that. That's funny, Elaine. Elaine, t-shirt, okay? Shop TYT.com for a t-shirt. Go buy one there, Elaine. No, I'm kidding. You get a free one. Gabby,
go buy a t-shirt.
Oh, I ran into two people in Verona. I got to get you guys t-shirts. Anyway, Gabby Marita says, wait, Rand Paul opposes AHCA because it provides too much coverage? Is he even human? Because he sounds downright Ferengi. That's awesome.
He's got Star Trek on the brain.
Yeah, Mark Halagua says, I visited a doctor today and he complained about the insurance companies he had to deal with. He doesn't believe it can get worse. Mark, tell him to brace for impact.
Yeah. Imagine how much simpler the paperwork would be if it was all just through one payer. Maybe we'll call it a single payer.
And Ironworker number 1 writes, and Cenk, I can't wait to see how the Justice Democrats fare in 2018. Perhaps a whisper of a new direction. Well, you and me both, brother. I hope that we've got enough firepower to be able to run these campaigns effectively, because we are a coven. That we're going to bring a stick. So, justdemocrats.com.
They will do.
Yeah. Go sign up today. It takes 10 seconds to sign up. Be part of the strong wing of the Democratic Party. And then if you can't volunteer or help in other ways, justdemocrats.com/donate gets funding to our candidates. All right. What's next, John?
Okay. What's next is hyper fast. These next few stories so we can cover it all. This morning, advocates for people with both intellectual and developmental disabilities staged a protest and ceremonial die-in over the Senate healthcare bill outside of the office of Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Now, he, of course, wasn't there, because why would he interact with actual Americans? But there were people, cops, who dragged bodily these protesters out. It got ugly, it got violent to some degree, and we want to show you some both pictures but also videos of what happened. So first here is some of the chants that were going on. You see these people, at least 60 of them crammed into that little hallway. So there you see the chants, but they were only allowed to do that for so long, and then the authorities came in. And so I want to play these next two videos back to back for you. You'll see just how ugly it got, how willing they were to treat these people, advocates for people dealing with very difficult situations, to treat them as if they weren't even people, as if they weren't even alive. You'll see it in these. So in the first video, you see a guy being picked up and carried like he's like a sack of grain. And in the second one, you see an elderly woman who was injured as they're dragging her out.
There were reports that some of the people were dropped as they were being carried out. You know, if we have a hostage situation, we'll wait them out for a long, long time. But if you're a protester, you got to go. These are powerful people here. They can't be bothered. I mean, imagine if Senator McConnell came back to his office and you guys were still there. Yeah. What? Yeah, it's like, that would be tragic indeed. So, it's a very...
Imagine if he'd have to see people who were angry about what he was trying to do.
Yeah. It's a very effective protest. These are people who would be directly affected. They come in, and then you got to drag out people who are disabled and sick.
Yeah.
It's tough to look at, and so I'm glad that they had the courage to go in there and do that. Of course, the most American thing could do is protest.
Yeah.
If I was the cops, I get it. They're in a tough situation because they got to clear the people out. Clearing those folks out is really, really difficult. On the other hand, maybe a little bit more patience and find a way to peacefully dissipate it over a longer period of time, admittedly.
Yeah.
Where more senators would be subjected to Americans.
More senators. One protester said, "The government wants to kill me." which many people will see that and they'll think, oh, come on. But think about the consequences of the bill. I mean, we've broken down line by line basically what this thing will do. It will kill people. It will kill the exact sort of people that those advocates are working for. And so they are not overreacting. I would say that America is largely underreacting to how drastic the changes that are included in this bill.
Yeah, look, I don't want to get people all riled up in the wrong direction, and I know that every bill has consequences, and when we go to war, it has deadly consequences. This has deadly consequences, unfortunately. But at the same time, if you put your shoes put yourself in the shoes of those people who are already sick, and there's things like a lifetime cap on insurance, or a yearly cap that could be brought back because of this bill. And if your treatment would have you run out of your yearly cap in April or June, and then you die without the treatment, it's understandable why they would want to go and protest and say, no, you guys don't get it. This particular bill, for all of its other advantages and disadvantages, would literally kill me.
Yeah, exactly. There's a stark lack of empathy, and we're going to see it in this next clip as well. Donald Trump is labeled as a populist, and a lot of his supporters are less well off. Not as many as the media always claims are, but there are some. And at the same time that he's called a populist, his cabinet is filled with CEOs and Wall Street executives, people from Goldman Sachs and companies like that. It is, in fact, the wealthiest cabinet in U.S. history, and it's not even close. And so that's a really weird position to be in, holding those two things there. And it leads to some bizarre comments, like you're going to see in this clip.
You appoint a rich person to be in charge of the economy. I said, no, it's true. Then Wilbur's a very rich person in charge of commerce. I said, because that's the kind of thinking we want. I mean, really, because they're representing the country. They don't want the money. They're representing the country. And they had to give up a lot to take these jobs. They gave up a lot. When you get the president, this is the president of Goldman Sachs, smart. Having him represent us, he went from massive paydays to peanuts, to little tiny. I'm waiting for them to accuse him of wanting that little amount of money. They wanted that. But these are people that are great, brilliant business minds, and that's what we need. That's what we have to have, so the world doesn't take advantages of it. We can't have the world taking advantage of us anymore. And I love all people, rich or poor. But in those particular positions, I just don't want a poor person. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
And so you hear the cheering there. Screw poor people! Yeah, screw people like me and my family.
Don't put us in power. Make sure you take away our power. What? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's begin to break this down. He says, well, you want people like who is the president of Goldman Sachs. Of course, during the campaign, Trump had said, I know the guys at Goldman Sachs, they have total control over Ted Cruz.
Just like they have total control over Hillary Clinton. Just like they have total control over him.
Now he's bragging about, I got the president of Goldman Sachs on my team.
Yeah.
Like, to him, lies are not an issue. Like, he doesn't view them as a negative at all.
Yeah. Well,
it's kind of a weird thing. Like, some other people have shame. Like, I just told a lie.
Consistent.
Yeah, or I'm being hypocritical here. He's like, I don't see the problem.
Well, he probably doesn't remember because he's losing his mind. He also said back in 2016, I know the people on Wall Street. I'm not going to let Wall Street get away with murder. Wall Street has caused tremendous problems for us. So what I'm going to do is take all those people from Wall Street and put them in Washington. That way they can't do that bad stuff on Wall Street anymore. And, so look at where we're at. He stood in his rally and told everyone there, it's awesome to pack your cabinet specifically with Goldman Sachs executives. And think about how far we've come from drain the swamp.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Like, I understand. No one in the audience is going to lose respect for him from that. I mean, people who are outside of an election going to a Donald Trump rally are about as strong Donald Trump supporters as you can possibly get. It's not going to hurt him right now. But there will be ads made with him saying, of course you should have Goldman Sachs executives in your cabinet. They'll be run by Democrats. They might be running a primary against him by a Republican. Like, he has gone from the outsider to defending having Wall Street run government.
Yeah, so my favorite part was, they don't want the money. No,
They don't want
of course
the money.
not. These poor rich people, they've never asked for money, except for when they give you political donations, and their number one request is tax cuts, which would give them billions of dollars in returns. They don't want the money. You know what Goldman Sachs' nickname is? Government Sachs. Why? Because it's a revolving door. They go into government, they set the rules in favor of Goldman Sachs, then they come back out of government and make a tremendous amount of money for themselves. So there was a misdirection there. Like, they're making peanuts now. They don't want that. They had to turn down a lot of money to make peanuts. Now, why do you think the president of Goldman Sachs turned down his salary to come inside the government? To help poor people? Does it sound like they want to help poor people or the middle class there? No, they have tremendous disdain for you.
Yeah.
So, no, the reason he goes into government is so that he can set the rules in favor of Goldman Sachs, come back out, go back into Goldman Sachs, and make more money.
And by the way, peanuts is literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. That should also be kind of insulting to the people in the audience. And also, Donald Trump has exempted almost his entire cabinet from the normal ethics rules. I have no reason to believe that he's not still drawing some sort of salary from Goldman Sachs while he's doing it. But it's just peanuts. Don't worry about it. Anyway, one last story?
Yes.
Okay. Weeks ago, Donald Trump threatened the, at that point, recently fired former head of the FBI, James Comey, with the possibility that Trump might have recorded their conversations. And he said this, James Comey better hope that there are no tapes, in quotation marks, of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press. And so it's been weeks now, and we've wanted to know, okay, so you're saying there might be recordings. If anyone would know, you would know. So are there recordings or not? And they've dragged it along, and they haven't answered the questions until today when he tweets this. With all of the recently reported electronic surveillance, intercepts, unmasking, and illegal leaking of information, I have no idea whether there are tapes or recordings of my conversations with James Comey, but I did not make and do not have any such recordings. And so after it took you weeks to say I didn't press record on a tape recorder?
No, this is fishy. So everybody's reporting this as Trump finally admits that he made up the thing about the tapes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's tempting because Trump makes up things about everything. Right? So, okay, fair enough.
Still,
and even
his ego as
the truth, the full truth
13-time
at a
champion.
minimum, yes, he made up the thing
And
about
as
the
a head
tapes.
coach,
in order
is this
to
coloring
scare
the way he
James
thinks he
Comey.
should
Newt
be
Gingrich says he was
regarded as a GM, and you say, well,
to make sure that James
it's
Comey
the
was
first time
being honest
somebody
in
has an
public.
exit interview with me. You're suddenly
everyone
looking
built
at it
another
saying,
oath blood.
wait a minute, is that?
Yeah, and a secret source from the White House talked to Bloomberg, the same exact talking points. They were just trying to get James Comey to be honest. That's not a leak. That's when you have a source from the White House that does pro-White House talking points, you're just putting out a statement in favor of the White House. Anyway, so the reason why I say be careful here is it is very lawyerly. He says, with all of the electronic surveillance, etc., I have no idea whether there are tapes or recordings. So he didn't say they don't exist. He said, I have no idea whether there are tapes or recordings. And furthermore, he said, I did not make them, and I do not have them. That doesn't mean they don't exist.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you actually take it literally, and the reason why that's important is if a lawyer helped him to craft it, he would say, okay, now don't say that they don't exist. Now, Donald, are they in your possession today? No. So you don't have them, do you? No. Did you press the record button, Donald? No, I didn't. So did you make them, Donald? No, I didn't. You did not make them. You do not have them. Now, Donald, do you know if today the person holding the tapes still has the tapes? I have no idea. Perfect. You have no idea whether those tapes exist or not. You didn't make them, and you don't have them. Why don't you write that in a tweet, Donald? It sounds like a good idea.
It still would be interesting that he apparently, for the first time ever, has been that careful with a tweet. I don't think he's ever done it before.
Exactly right. And that's the telltale sign, guys, which is Donald Trump is not this careful. He'll come in blundering like, rah, tapes, I scissored them. I lit them on fire. Rah!
You mean cut them with a scissor.
Yes, please. Anyway, so for him to parse his words so carefully leads me to believe the tapes exist.
That's possible, yeah.
Yeah, so
And,
old.
Also, I mean, the only thing I disagree with you on is that what that anonymous source said is just good for the White House. Because we know that an investigation is going on right now into obstruction of justice. I am, while I'm not many things, I'm not a doctor, I'm also not a lawyer, putting out a statement saying to someone who theoretically is going to be called in a court case against you that you better not hope I wasn't recording you, maybe you should or shouldn't say things, you can't just freely do that. I mean, that is witness intimidation. You can't do that. That theoretically, even if there are whether there are tapes or there aren't tapes, the statements he already made, regardless of how he tries to finesse it later on, could be used in his court case over obstruction of justice.
So, John, the more you talk, the more I'm convinced there are tapes. And I'll tell you why. Because this is not just Trump tweeting in the middle of the night. This is a coordinated campaign. They leak to Bloomberg, they have Newt Gingrich go out, and now Trump tweets himself with a very carefully worded tweet. So, and in that effort, they're doing what you explained. They're basically admitting to witness intimidation.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, we were bluffing to pressure Comey. That's witness intimidation. So, and it's not like you didn't talk to a lawyer. You obviously did talk to a lawyer. So why are you admitting that? It would only be to cover up something much worse, which is that there are tapes, and you've listened to the tapes, and the tapes say, hey, James, cut it out already with the investigation. I'd like to obstruct that investigation. Right? So, I don't know if we're the only ones saying it, probably not, but we're among the few voices right now telling you, don't buy into the hype that there aren't tapes. This leads me to believe that there's more likely they have tapes, not less likely. Okay, now we're out of time. When we come back, we got a whole second hour for you that's amazing. Some more fallout from the Senate GOP healthcare bill, including defunding Planned Parenthood. We'll tell you the details about that. And then protesters in D.C. were treated far worse than we realized, including charges of rape and molestation by the cops. We'll explain that when we return.
TYT is unique in a lot of ways.
Enrico, time to cut. Oh my God, Huh? I know. Primero algo que no veo. Oh, this one. That's a Nike.
It's a Nike.
The one that you like? Yep. That's the one that you like. Everything is in socks. Be sure you sell the shark.
Like a smart person.
Alright, back on the Young Turks. Oh, look at this one is going up run early. Had a crash there. Won't take too long. Here comes the TYT Network think tank pop trigger. Off the top rope. we have to, whenever things settle down, which is never, we should do another internal battle of the network stars.
Oh, wow. What does that entail?
So you remember old school Battle of the Network stars?
I don't remember it.
Oh, yeah. It'd be ABC versus CBS versus NBC, those three.
Oh, wow.
And they would have all their, like, the Stars of Dallas and the Stars of Dynasty.
Oh, wow.
Like and they would do tug of war and relay races. It was awesome. So we did a mini version of that like 4 years ago when we did the arm wrestling competition.
Oh, I remember that.
TYT. Where out of nowhere Andrew Napier came in like a hurricane and beat the shit out of all of us. I don't know how that happened. He beat you too, obviously, right, JR? Did you lose to Andrew?
No, he beat me. Did he have like an over the top like grip that was good?
Yeah, he had the over the top.
Napier literally trained for it. He trained with the techniques on with arm wrestle. And after the 45-minute arm wrestle match with Jake, my arm was still dead 2 days later. And I was like, I have nothing left.
Damn.
But JR and I were in the final four, and he finished me. And then
my arm hurt for a week.
Jeez. Yeah, we did. That was an epic. That's somewhere on YouTube. It's an epic. And me and JR was the best match. Okay. Anyway, so by the way, if you're wondering who's Andrew Napier, he's the director of Mad as Hell. And he used to be a producer here. So check out Mad as Hell, the movie, which is great. All right, Atypical Southerner writes in, they're not just defending their rights, the people protesting in front of McConnell's office, they're defending their lives. So that's a good point. Cassandra Bosma says, the bill is all out war on the sick, impoverished people of this country. And Michael Spieger says, is there a more gullible group of suckers than Trump supporters? Finally, Woke Poppy says, I know for a fact that Trump didn't tweet that tweet himself because every word is spelled correctly. Yeah. I like that now all of a sudden there's Woke everything. We started with Woke Bay, and now there's Woke Poppy. And I was just at VidCon, and in VidCon, we're the OGs. Like, almost all the other YouTube creators know us because we've been here forever.
Long time.
Right, and so I'm going with woke OG.
I like it.
It's something. It's something.
I hate the word woke. I can't handle it anymore. Everything's woke. I get it. I tried it out loud the other day, and my girlfriend got she was like, "Don't say that word." I get it. I get what, but it, like at this point, like if you look on like Urban Dictionary and everything, it like has become so meta as to be self-referential about the origins of woke. Where now it's like, all right, go back to sleep.
That's exactly why it has finally come to me. All right. Anyway, Hannah, take it away.
All right. The Senate GOP revealed their health care bill today, and they also revealed something that I think we all feared but also expected: defunding Planned Parenthood. Now, the GOP bill follows the same language in the House-passed health care bill in blocking Medicaid reimbursements to Planned Parenthood, which obviously provides women's health care and abortion services. So what this means is that 60% of Planned Parenthood's 2.5 million patients will no longer be able to go there for affordable birth control, pap smears, testing, and treatment for sexually transmitted infections or breast exams, okay? The family planning provider would lose nearly $500 million in federal reimbursements, a financial hit that would force many of its clinics to close, especially in poor and rural areas. And those are the people that this bill is going to disproportionately affect, obviously, especially women who are living in low-income areas. Now, the CBO estimated that this would cause 15% of low-income and rural women to lose access to any kind of family planning services. And this isn't just sort of like we think this is going to happen. We've seen this happen before. In fact, when Texas cut Planned Parenthood out of its women's health program back in 2011, 30,000 women lost access to publicly funded family planning services, and the maternal mortality rate in the state doubled. And so I think that's something that's really important to focus on, because a lot of the people who are opposing this are pro-life. And obviously when you are increasing mortality rate, that is not a pro-life stance. In fact, and to kind of further that point there, a lot of the federal funding, all of the federal funding that goes to Planned Parenthood is just so that they can be reimbursed for people who have Medicaid. It doesn't actually fund abortions. And I think people get really, really confused about that, because there's something that's called the Hyde Amendment, which doesn't allow federal funding for abortions. So this is just going to basically hurt women who are going to trying to get birth control, which is a huge preventer when it comes to poverty. Women who are trying to prevent sexually transmitted diseases, like we saw when former Governor Pence tried to shut down Planned Parenthood in Indiana, and we saw this huge HIV outbreak, and women who are trying to prevent cancer by going to get breast exams. So this is devastating to women all around the country, regardless of their socioeconomic background, but especially for low-income women.
So, first point on this is the pro-life thing. First of all, look, I don't mind people calling themselves pro-life. So a lot of people say, "Oh, anti-choice" and yada yada. But I think people get to call themselves whatever they want. Having said that, they're not actually pro-life. Let's just be clear about that. They are anti-abortion, because they're a lot of, according to the polling, great majority of the people who claim that they are pro-life are in favor of the death penalty. Not really a pro-life position to be in favor of the death penalty, and by the way, a position that the Pope disagrees with and Christian leaders disagree with. But it doesn't matter if you're a conservative. You're like, but I really want to kill those guys, but I'm pro-life. No, you're not. You just want to stop abortion. That's fine. That's your opinion. And just be more upfront about it. So when you get to maternal care, and I don't want, I'm not actually pro-life if the kid dies because I didn't want to pay for it. I didn't want to pay for it. Okay, then admit who you are. But I'm going to go further than that. In this particular case, this bill will almost certainly create, even if all you cared about is abortion, and I think you should just admit that that's all you care about, this bill will almost certainly create more abortions. Now, why? I mean, there's a whole point is like, oh, Planned Parenthood does abortions, we defund them, and yeah, we got them. First of all, your money never went towards abortions in the first place, as Hannah explained. Second of all, the main thing that you're going to do is you're going to cut birth control that people were accessing through Planned Parenthood. Oh, I know you live in a fantasy world where if you cut birth control, people stop having sex, but on planet Earth, that's not how it works. since we're human beings, we still have sex, and then you have a lot more pregnancies. That's borne out by study after study and state after state. There's no question about it, plus common sense. And so you'll have more pregnancies, and whether you like it or not, you'll have more abortions. Abortion is legal in the country. So congratulations, pro-lifers. You just absolutely did the most counterproductive thing you can do about the one cause you actually care about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's going to be more abortions, but also more unsafe abortions, people who are trying to do back alley abortions and things like that. So it is increasing deaths, which is supposedly something that a lot of these pro-lifers are against.
Yeah, and it's a matter of really taking your eye off your goals, your stated goals, because they have created this idea that Planned Parenthood is the enemy, and that's enough, and that's the destination, without really thinking through all the ramifications of smiting your enemy, which creates more problems than were existing before you actually got to it. They're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, is what it is.
Almost literally in this case.
Yeah.
So one more thing, voting matters, and look, no one agrees with you on the frustration of our so-called democratic system today than I do. I just participated in a debate at Oxford, please, I do declare, where I was for the position that democracy is for sale, especially in America where we have legalized bribery of politicians. So I get your frustrations, but from time to time, voting really does matter, because if, as bad as Hillary Clinton was and as systematically corrupted as she was, if she had won, you would not defund Planned Parenthood, and you wouldn't have these consequences. And so if you ever use Planned Parenthood, or were going to use it in the past, your vote would have mattered in your life, period.
And by the numbers, that's 1 in 5 women.
Right, it's 1 in 5 women, and also, like, even if you aren't going to use Planned Parenthood, or somebody you know hasn't used Planned Parenthood, and really, really all you care about is your wallet, right? Taxpayers. So I've done a few videos where I talk about and wrote a few articles talking about birth control. A lot of people are like, oh, there shouldn't be contraception coverage. Women should just pay for birth control if they want it. But I don't think they understand, like, the economic ramifications of that, and the fact that when you are, one, paying for women to have birth control coverage, and paying for things like Planned Parenthood so that they can gain access to birth control, okay, then you're avoiding later costs, right, of paying for kids who are in poverty, other, and situations like that, right? And then the other component is that these women will then be able to go on to and get further education, and then be contributing to society more. So it's also, like, if all you care about is your wallet, there's a huge economic benefit to having funding for things like Planned Parenthood and contraception coverage.
There's no reason for this at all, if you think it through. It's just so frustrating. I feel like there's got to be this moment in the future where people look up and say, like, what are we fighting for? Because absolutely, your ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and so this is the ounce of prevention. So I've never heard articulated to me any real reason for getting rid of Planned Parenthood, because no dollars are legally allowed to go to fund abortions.
Right.
And you're just creating way more problems that you've said you're against. And then the last thing is just about, aside from that, all this, the procedural issues of this. The idea that this might not even stand up to the final vote because defunding something takes it out of the budget process, the filibuster-proof budget process, just goes to show how complicated and ridiculous the process itself is, that a funding measure takes it out of the filibuster-proof budget process. It's crazy. I don't understand it.
The representatives who are voting on this aren't really voting for what the people actually want. 62% of Americans don't want Planned Parenthood to be defunded. So these representatives aren't even representing their own people and constituents.
And this might just be to get a score that can be in ads when it says, like, 99% they voted with pro-life groups.
Yeah, well, which brings me back to voting, because almost everything done in Congress now is to make the donors happy. But this one is actually not one of them. This is the rare exception. This is the one thing that Republicans are doing to appease their voters. Who are their voters? Now, yes, the overwhelming majority of the country is in favor of Planned Parenthood, but not necessarily Republican voters. 81% of white evangelical voters voted for Donald Trump. 81%. And you know how much turned out? 85% of white evangelicals turned out to vote. So they got the one thing they wanted, right or wrong, whether it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. They wanted to kill Planned Parenthood, so they're going to kill Planned Parenthood. If you want the things that you care about, not only to protect things like Planned Parenthood, but to have maybe positive change in the world, why don't you vote 85%, and have that kind of voter turnout? Then, on the rare case where it'll make a difference, and this is that case, then you'll have the power instead of them. All right.
Moving on. The ACLU has filed a lawsuit against the city of D.C., the chief of police there, and some of the specific police officers, alleging that cops used rape as a punishment following a Inauguration Day mass arrest. Now here you can see a picture of the protest that was happening with these black-clad marchers who began smashing windows in Washington, D.C. on Inauguration Day. Now, the Metropolitan Police Department opted to kettle everyone, which basically means to corral everyone on the streets nearby this anarchist-driven property destruction. Now, the mass roundup swept the Antifa, or the anti-fascist rowdy types together with many peaceful protesters, journalists, and volunteer legal observers who turn out in these bright green hats to help uphold First Amendment rights at such events in the Capitol. Now, the ACLU is already questioning the constitutionality of this sort of mass roundup, sort of guilty by association. But further than that, independent photojournalist Shay Horse, volunteer legal observer Judah Ariel, and peaceful protesters Elizabeth Legesse and Milo Gonzalez suggest that the MPD sought physical and emotional retribution on the hundreds of people kettled. So it was about 200 people. Now, an officer allegedly ordered Horse, fellow plaintiff Milo Gonzalez, and 3 others to take their pants off before grabbing their testicles and then inserting a finger into their anuses while other officers laughed. Apparently, there were some other details that they didn't change gloves between this, a lot of allegations that are very disturbing. Now, Horst said that I felt like they were using molestation and rape as punishment. They use those tactics to inflict pain and misery on people who are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Now, the MPD is defending its reputation and maintaining that all of their arrests were proper. They are also saying that all of the allegations into misconduct will be fully investigated. But obviously, if this did happen, this is just this horrible abuse of power in this situation.
So, first, let me just be a little bit clear about kettling. So, if you were among the many protesters in the Trump inauguration, or let's say you're a Tea Party protester against Obamacare, and if somebody did something stupid and they threw something, they broke something, kettling is they come and they just hold everyone in that area. They don't go, okay, that's the guy who did it, or there's the 3 guys right there. That requires, and I know it's a chaotic scene, and I'm not totally unsympathetic to the overall situation of the cops. I'm not sympathetic at all to what the cops are alleged to have done. But, okay, they kettled them, and then they arrested 200 of them, including these guys who are photojournalists, etc., and legal advisors. And by the way, just so you're absolutely clear, guys like Horse were released and never charged because they were innocent. They didn't do anything wrong. But they happen to be, it's not guilt by association, actually, because they're not associated at all to the guy who threw the rocks or whatever they did to break the windows. It's guilt by location. They just happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and next thing you know, their pants are down and somebody's touching their testicles and putting a finger in their anus. So that's been pretty bad. Most people would not be in favor of that.
Yeah, so one of the peaceful protesters, Elizabeth Legesse, is actually still facing felony charges. They basically charged all 200 of these people that they kettled with these felony charges, and so she's still facing those and trying to get out of the, obviously with the help of the ACLU, and she says that she was kettled in this situation. They said that she said that they handcuffed her with zip ties so tightly that she was like bleeding and was cutting her wrist. So there were already so many aspects of this that were horrendous and wrong. And then to add insult to injury, quite literally, then these other allegations of molestation are added onto it. So it's pretty terrifying what cops will do when they think that they can get away with something.
I'd like to see how they justified the probing. Like, well, we know the people who did it had stuff in their butts, so we decided to, that's the only explanation is, well, we had to look in there to make sure that you weren't the people who did it. And then kettling the idea, kettling is a really dangerous tactic. Because, you hear during these times of heightened violence or chaos in a situation, you want to de-escalate things and cool something down. And you will not, kettles don't cool things down. You put something in a kettle so you can heat it up and it can get more and more annoying till it screams at you. And that's ridiculous. And the guilt by, location, that is a deterrent against really all major protests. Because what happens in a major protest when you get enough people together is there will be jackasses who show up, and it just takes essentially one person to throw a bottle or go past a random barrier for the police to say, now we feel like we're in danger. And now we've kind of de facto turned this group of largely peaceful protesters into 200 arrests.
Yeah, and there's one other aspect to that. In this case, there's no evidence of this, but historically, there's also been agitators planted inside the crowds. Like in civil rights protests, it was a well-known tactic of the police to put an agitator inside the crowd who then breaks something in a nonviolent protest, which allows them to arrest all the nonviolent protesters and deter further protests, because if you come to a protester, we'll arrest you all based on someone that we planted in the crowd.
Yeah.
And again, just these are historic tactics used by the government and sometimes by right-wing people who want to infiltrate nonviolent protests. And then you'll see that the only person not arrested is the guy who threw the thing in the first place. So that's a whole other angle to it. In this case, there isn't evidence of that. The cops believe, and we have no evidence to the contrary, that it really were Antifa guys there who were breaking windows. Those are the guys that you want to target. And by the way, felony charges are really, really serious. And so if you broke a window or you destroyed property, you should get felony charges. But for 200 people, all 200 were part of Antifa, or, and my pronunciation of that is bordering on hilarious now. Anyway, or violent protesters, or you're like, I don't know who did it. So let's just charge 200 people in that location with felony charges? That seems like a bad idea.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see how this case unfolds as the ACLU. They're going to have this discovery period and see what the officers were involved in and investigate further. So we'll see. We'll keep you updated on more facts. All right. Moving on. Women in India are using cow masks to illustrate how Indian laws favor cow protections over their female human constituents. Now you can see some of the pictures of women in these cow masks here. There's a few of them around the country in different places. Now, obviously, India has seen a rise in cow protection laws with long sentences and harsh punishments. And Sujatra Ghosh, who is an artist from Kolkata, India, said that he started this project and it was inspired by his own questions about why the same feverish approach to codifying protections for cows wasn't extended to women in the country. Now, in India, harming a cow can yield a swift and harsh prison sentence of nearly 10 years or even inspire vigilante justice, but survivors, victims of rape can wait months before they see results from reporting their assaults. Now, in 2015, India's National Crime Records Bureau reported that there were at least 34,000 cases of rape reported around the country. And in fact, conviction for these rates against women is about only 21%, and that is a statistic from 2014. So some of these laws protecting cows obviously come from the Hindu religion. And we obviously know as well that there have been increased rape allegations and instances of rape of women in India. And a lot of the times the police, when women talk about their sexual assault, won't report that women are coming there. They won't believe the women. So obviously the number that I mentioned before, 34,000, is probably an underestimate and underreporting. But also there's a huge stigma around sexual assault in India, so it's further an underestimate. And still these cows are being protected more than their women, which is...
It's a great argument. It's a great rhetorical argument. well executed by the Instagram art that we're seeing. It's like you're protecting a cow more than you're protecting me, and I'm not against protecting cows. I'm all for protecting women just as much. And when you say that it's underreported, if not more, but it's underreported. There was Reuters reported that in metropolitan areas like Delhi, 1 in 13, according to a survey they did, 1 in 13 sexual assaults is reported. In Delhi.
And sexual harassment is the third most common crime in Delhi, New Delhi and Mumbai.
And they said by comparison, 1 in 3 phone robberies is reported, as opposed to 1 in 13 sexual assaults. And then in Mumbai, it's 1 in 9 are reported. It's tough, but they have taken certain steps. In India, it's apparently they passed a law saying in 2017 that all phones have to have a panic button. And then in 2018, it will have to be linked to GPS in order to, show people where they are.
Yeah, and they're trying to pass different laws that make cops more accountable when women do report these sexual assaults, but they're still obviously in the process of it. But I like how this artist is sort of drawing attention to the fact that there is sort of this disparity between how the country treats its constituents.
Yeah, so in the pictures, by the way, the artist is Sujatra Ghosh, but it's different women that are wearing the cow heads, if you will. So in the beginning, I thought, well, that's a curious contrast, and I get it, but I kind of felt bad for picking on the law on cow protection, right? I guess the cows should be protected, I thought, but it turns out I'm actually wrong about that, because the more I read into it, the more I realized, oh, this isn't just that, hey, we're Hindus and we want to protect cows, and isn't that lovely? It's actually sometimes selectively enforced against Muslims in India. So, and the point I always make about religion is, you practice your religion, I don't. Okay, you should have the freedom to practice it, but you should not force other people to practice your religion because they're not in your religion. So if you're Hindu, great, don't eat cows, and love them and pet them and do whatever else you like to do with them, and the animals are innocent. Okay, but if Muslims or Jews or Christians want to eat delicious hamburgers, leave them alone. Right? So that law by itself, even though it sounds great, wasn't that good to begin with. And then when you do the contrast, and of course that's the whole point of the art, Jesus, we're not even Ganesh, we're not even, or whatever, we're not even protecting women as much as we're protecting cows, then it's particularly troublesome. So great art, because great art makes you think, and it's got the whole country thinking. Okay, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got more news for you, including guns in classrooms in Colorado. This is going to work out great. And a woman who is going to, she's at least in the running for the worst mom in America. So we'll tell you about that when we come back.
I just shot a clip. It's time sensitive and it needs to be edited. Did anybody call for it? Editor. Need this in an hour. Shared editor too. Fuck you.
There are few things in life as exciting in the crowd form as horse racing.
It is pretty awesome.
It is awesome.
No, I went once and it was great.
Oh.
And a long time ago, a million years ago.
Everyone's like, oh, they're gonna go, and then shit happens. It's great drama. I have a system. If there's a gray horse, I always pick it.
Obviously.
So
you've lost a lot of money, right?
But you look who's the jumpy horse, right? And I got to tell you, more times than not, the horse, when they walk him, who's the jumpiest, that guy's going to place. He's gonna either win or come in. I'm telling you.
That is a much better strategy than the fucking gray horse. In Vegas, they have this too. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. When they're doing the World Series of Poker, they'll have a table right outside with one guy sitting there, $5 to tell me your bad beat story. So you give him $5 and he listens to your story, but I had the queen and he had the fucking kings. Can you believe it?
The first time I ever went to Vegas, I saw a guy selling his belt buckle and his wedding ring in the bathroom.
Oh, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
And I was like, you're probably getting divorced. No, I'm going to stick to the $5 tables.
So my dad to this day says, like, whenever I tell him I went gambling, he's like, oh, I hope you lost. Because he thinks,
telling you that.
Yeah, still, after like 20 years, he thinks if I just lose one more time, I'll stop winning. And I said, no, Dad, I'm telling you because I won. I wouldn't tell you if I lost. It's going to give you a heart attack. I did great, and I won, whatever. And he's like, I wish you hadn't.
It's like my parents telling me, like, the last tattoo, okay? That should be the last one.
Back on TYT with Brett, Hannah, and Jank. Edward writes in, birth control is not just for birth control, it has other uses. Great point. Michelle Midyet says, you can't use logic with conservatives. All they think about is making abortion illegal. They don't think about the consequences. Actually, speaking of logic, I will now make one of my favorite points, which is that the Bible is actually pro-abortion. Read it. In Numbers, it says that if you think your wife cheated on you, give her a toxic potion. And if she did not cheat on you, then she'll be fine and she won't miscarry. But if the bitch cheated on you, it'll force her to have an abortion. That'll be great.
Pro-abortion and pro-violence against women.
It's in the Bible. Read.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Read that Bible.
Isn't that amazing that it is literally pro-abortion? The Bible is. And they just flipped it. Just flipped it. So no. It's Bible's against abortion, and now we need to control your bodies.
Well, it's just the thing that's like the picking and the choosing, right? Like, okay, we're not going to stone women anymore. I guess we'll give that one up. But we're still going to eat our shrimp. You know, I mean, like they just sort of pick and choose.
But slavery's all over the Bible, and you would use the Bible to justify slavery in America. Now they're like, oh, it's kind of reap gauche. Let's just pick on somebody else. The gays. The gays. Okay. Anyway, Ruth Iverson says, I love the cows. This cow mask idea makes a great point. And who knows, it might move the country. You know you love it. Don't pretend you don't like it.
That was utterly horrible. Sorry.
There we go.
All right.
Guys. Oh.
Classrooms in Colorado will now be arming their teachers with guns in an effort to cut down on gun violence. Now, teachers will be offered a 3-day course, which consists of firearms and medical training, and it was launched on Tuesday in Weld County. Now, 17 members of staff who would like to be considered armed first responders have so far taken part, and the pilot program will allow volunteers to enter schools with guns under U.S. concealed carry laws. Now, this course is provided by the Faculty Administrator Safety Training and Emergency Response Group, otherwise known as FASTER, and it was set up by parents, law enforcement officers, and medical experts who believe that U.S. schools are a soft target for violence. Now, this was set up after Sandy Hook in 2012. Now, the move has angered certain campaign groups such as Safe Campus Colorado, which encourages its supporters to petition local authorities to help keep guns out of school, which I think is something that we can all agree on. In fact, when you look at some of the numbers and you look at the shootings that have happened, unfortunately, in schools, of the 37 school shootings in 26 states, they found that nearly 2/3 of those incidents, the attacker got the gun from his or her own family or that of a relative. So while I think they have good intention here by arming some of the teachers, I think it would be much more prudent to talk to parents and talk to relatives of students about their gun safety within their own homes, since that's where these school shooters have received their handguns and whatnot.
But here's the thing: is like at school, the plan to do this. They have one here. They have one in Pennsylvania where they I think it's Pennsylvania, where they bought like 4 semi-automatic rifles. And they're going to have them at school, and parents are upset. The idea is you're going to have guns at school. Now, theoretically, those are all going to be in the possession of trained teachers who have the guns under lock and key in their own supervision at all times. That said, kids get into places they're not supposed to get into. And if you have the agenda and you know that the gun is there and you don't have to break into your family's locker, you can just find out where the gun is at school and maybe get that. That's what I don't like about it. I'm sure we can investigate more security at schools. I don't know where we'll get the funding, but like, I'm fine with more security at schools so long as they're, because I like, the police being there or the security being there to protect the kids. But this just sounds like such a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, obviously what you alluded to there is having the risk of gun theft within the school by students and kids or whatever. But the other component of it that kind of scares me the most is that this program is a 3-day program. Okay? And so I don't think you can stop an active shooter after a 3-day program. Like, I took a CPR class when I was in high school, and after that, I would definitely not be able to administer CPR. I can't imagine trying to have an active shooter who's trying to shoot at kids. So all of this just screams bad idea to me, and it just is I think it's going to prove, unfortunately, very, very dangerous to these kids who are in these schools with added guns when we're trying to prevent gun violence.
I think I've taken 3 CPR courses in my life. Yeah. And if you had a heart attack and I was giving you CPR, you would have a heart attack and 3 broken ribs. Okay, so before I trash this idea, I would like to give them credit for an excellent acronym. Faster, because they want a faster response, and they threw safety training and emergency response and faculty in there. That's good work. I'm borderline great acronym.
Yeah, there's no superfluous words just to cover the letter. Those are really good.
Yes, nice job on that. And Hannah, you left out one part of them. They're saying this is a soft target for violence. Mm-hmm. The group also refers to schools as victim zones. You're in the victim zone. Okay, guys, just please, calm down for a second. Now, look, school violence is terrible. We all want to prevent it, but bringing in the weapons to the school is not going to help you prevent it. And one of the things that's going to happen is you're going to have all these guys who can't wait to use their weapons. Because there isn't anyone who's going to get training in weaponry to protect kids who isn't going to have a daydream about how they're a hero and they protect the kids by using their weapon. Then every person who went through that program can't wait to unleash the weapon. Terrible idea.
Right.
So if my kids are going to that school, no, don't have all these guys daydreaming about being a hero with weapons inside the school. You're more likely to die from a weapon if it's in the building. It's just a fact. So there's study after study. If your house has a gun, you're much more likely to die from gun violence because the gun's already there.
And the majority, I think it's like 1%, but the majority of gun violence that involve children and different homicide rates and suicide rates and things like that happen outside of schools. Like these school shootings are horrendous and horrific, but the majority of shootings happen like when kids get these guns from home. And so that's the real thing that we need to target, not arming teachers with more guns. Like you said, we're going to have this sort of like cop with a badge complex who want to like exert their power, authority, and heroicism.
So. This weird self-fulfilling prophecy, you know?
Yep. And so I'll start the countdown now. There's no way one of these guys isn't going to cause a shooting at a school.
Okay, well let's
I know, knock on wood.
Let's do this.
Okay, but it's going to happen because that's how it works. If you have weapons somewhere, someone eventually uses the weapons. So I don't know the circumstances through which it's going to happen. But if you put those weapons there, they will get used. So the countdown begins, and unfortunately, it's studies bear out that it is a near inevitability.
And hopefully with more of these articles about like bringing the statistics and bringing the studies into the conversation, this will sort of dissuade schools from entering the faster program and hopefully dissuade teachers from wanting to like be trained in sort of this active shooter situation and instead be trained in like talking about gun safety with your kids or, you know, other sort of mechanisms to ensure the safety of their students.
Yeah. So now we are out of time, kind of. So I want to let you guys know we are going to do a couple more stories, including the breast selfie that I talked about in the first hour, the worst mom that I talked about in a second. We're going to do that online. You know, we're on Sirius Satellite Radio. Much love to our audience there. But we're going to continue it on tytnetwork.com/live. And after we give you those couple of stories, we'll also be doing a post game for our members. And tonight, there's also Aggressive Progressive at 9 o'clock Eastern, also for our members. So, by the way, if you go at 9 o'clock Eastern, the first segment of Aggressive Progressive is live and free to everyone. So that's tytnetwork.com/live at 9 o'clock Eastern. But if you want to get the full Aggressive Progressive episode and our post game that we're going to do, then you become a member at tytnetwork.com/join. By the way, you also get the whole 2-hour show in case you missed any of it, and it's all commercial free. All right, wanted to let you guys know that. We'll do it. tytnetwork.com/join. All right, we'll be right back with those other stories online. Told you. All right, we've got the mom breastfeeding story.
Yeah.
Go for it, Hannah.
Do it. A mother has been arrested after allegedly breastfeeding her baby in a bar. Now, this woman was arrested at an Indianapolis bar early on Friday after she was seen breastfeeding her 7-month-old daughter while drinking beer and offering to have sex with people who would go inside and buy her more beer. Now, this is a picture of Shari Treba, who is 42 and is facing a felony charge for neglect of a dependent, along with a misdemeanor charge for public intoxication.
She's in big trouble.
Yeah, you take that, Shari.
All right. Now, court documents show that the child was taken into state custody. She was examined at a nearby hospital, where luckily she was found to have no signs of intoxication or other physical signs of neglect or abuse. There are some other witness testimonies, I guess, of this scenario. Apparently, she chained the stroller to like a post outside of the bar. The father of the child was also there, who was also very intoxicated.
Family night.
Well, okay, so I think let's delve into this, because I think we can hear this story and we think of this mom breastfeeding a baby at a bar, and it's like, oh, ha, like it's a funny image. But the fact that this woman is like neglecting her daughter, potentially intoxicating a 7-month-old baby, being this intoxicated while in charge of a child is really, really sad. And I think, there's a chance, obviously, if this is happening in the middle of the night at a bar with her, baby daddy, that they may have an issue, and that she thinks it's okay to strap her stroller to a post outside, and that's really sad. I mean, alcoholism is one of the leading killers in our country, and it's so devastating because people are potentially dealing with this and struggling with it, but also that they're subjecting a newborn child to it.
Well, you're gonna be a downer about it.
Sorry, I know.
The limit. Like, dude. Like, if you have people who have babies, I know some friends of mine are breastfeeding, and they're like, they know that if you want to have any kind of alcohol, once you're done breastfeeding, you have one glass of wine, and then you have to wait for like hours.
Yeah, it's like 3 to 4 hours.
That's crazy. I mean, A, wow, I didn't really know that at all beforehand. And B, you're technically like buying alcohol for a minor. You're like, it's the same as like getting a baby drunk. But the thing is, like, this had to have happened throughout history before we knew that you could infuse your breast milk with alcohol, right? Like, this has happened for years. And and another thing is, like, another friend of mine was drunk, and she said, she was pregnant. And she says, you do more damage to the baby during the early months of pregnancy while drinking than you do during the later months when everything's kind of built. Now, you shouldn't do it at all, but if we're going to say you do more damage versus less damage, the thing is, like, there are pregnant women out there who aren't showing and are drinking and are doing way more damage, but get no one to call them out for it. And then there's super pregnant women who are like, this is my one glass a week, and everyone at the restaurant's like, how dare you?
Yes, I mean, presumably for some of the women who aren't showing, maybe they don't know, and that is a risk that is scary for women who maybe aren't trying and don't know that they are pregnant and could be affecting the baby like that. But like you said, Brett, like, this could have happened in history. I mean, that's why we saw, so many cases, however many years ago, of like fetal alcohol syndrome and like different effects, and we don't know how, for women who are breastfeeding, how that may have affected their, brain development or their IQ or other developmental aspects, right? Because there's no way to really look at that. But clearly, this is a case where we know that she is breastfeeding at the same time she's drinking. You know that this could really potentially harm the baby. Thank God nothing happened to the baby. The baby had no signs of intoxication, but a really serious scenario. Well, she doesn't have custody of her child anymore, which is, horrendous too, that this child now has to go through foster care and things like that. But
so, look, one, I'm going to bring back the fun part of the story. Two, I'm going to be a little contrarian here. First of all, this couple should be spokespeople for the alcohol industry. Because, one, she's like, I will have sex with you if you just buy me one beer. Okay, that is amazing. Number two.
So sad, James.
It is. That's why it's fun to think about.
Bad and have that dependency.
But nonetheless,
it is sad. It is both sad. It is both sad and entertaining.
Slightly amusing. Okay, and then my favorite part of the story is when the husband got involved. Like, I thought that the husband wasn't there. Or that he didn't exist, right? And then she's like, all right, I'll have sex with any of you to get back in the bar. And then the husband shows up. It's like, all right, anybody at all, any takers. So I don't know what's going on in their relationship, but it's funky and it's interesting. But now, in all seriousness, I do have a little bit of a defense. Really, we're going to lock her up for having a beer while breastfeeding? Because I think we'd have to lock up a lot of people. So it's potentially dangerous, and I don't want you to do it, and I don't want you to get the wrong idea. But taking away the baby and locking her up is pretty draconian.
Yes.
And I would have. Hold on. I just want to complete the thought. I wouldn't have been in favor of it at all. I think it would have been too far, except that she chained the stroller and went back inside and left the baby alone out there. So then you're endangering the child.
Hey, at least you chained the stroller, you know? That's thinking it through.
I am with you. I don't think we should lock her up. I do think that, she was struggling to produce identification and respond to the officer's question. She was so intoxicated. I think what should happen is that she gets help. Like, I don't know, she needs to go to jail, but I think she needs to get help, and maybe once she gets to a place in recovery or whatever, then she can gain custody back, but she's not in a position right now where she should have custody of a child.
Right. Or at least in the meantime, let's figure out some more facts about this lovely lady who is offering sex for a beer while breastfeeding her baby drunk. That's the thing. It's the number of terrible choices she was making at once. That if she was just at the bar, well, first of all, I think, and it's sad because I'm saying, hey, don't be so stupid. If you're gonna have a beer and breastfeed, do it at home. So not everybody's looking at you. And that's terrible. But that's smarter. It's not great, but that proves that someone is at least a little smarter than someone who goes out to the bar and is like baby on a boob, hand on a cold one, sipping, feeding the baby, switching off, and go in, and that's where the police show up and go wait, this is all happening at the same time. Come with us. We're gonna put your baby over here. We're gonna put you over here. Ask you some questions.
So to be fair to them, Brett, they were, and this is true, at a work conference.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
They can hold down a job. That's mitigating circumstances.
Okay. So they're like, okay, we're at an accounting conference, so let's obviously take our baby to the bar and see what happens. And here's what happened, by the way. She had a 0.193 alcohol level. It's really, really high. And I have to confess that when I first read the story, Hannah, I didn't think that, it didn't occur to me that she was an alcoholic. As you laid it out, I was like, of course!
Yeah.
Now we don't know for sure, right?
Right.
But there are a lot of circumstantial evidence there. And I think
you have a problem if you, regardless of whether you're an alcoholic or not, you have some sort of dependency or some sort of problem with your relationship with alcohol if you are doing all of the aforementioned facts.
Yeah, and she's also charged with public intoxication, a charge that I actually hate. I think that it is only used when drunk people are a pain in the ass to cops. Because, what do you mean? There's a billion people who are publicly intoxicated. Right? That's not a that's not a thing, right? The cops will only use that when they're annoyed at you.
Yeah, you could. It's disturbing the peace, which I get. It's still used ambiguously a lot, but at least when you say you're disturbing the peace, we are here to protect and serve, come with us. But public intoxication is just wow, that guy sounds hilarious. That person sounds like fun. I want to hang out with someone who's publicly intoxicated.
So, I'm not buying that either. And they arrested the dad because he was also a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
He was really protesting loudly that they shouldn't be arresting his wife. So they're like, okay, that's it. You're under arrest too. So a lot of this is flimsy charges. But the one thing that we all agree on is, let's investigate how to help these folks, because that investigation needs to happen. Because if this happened, I don't know what else is happening at home, and you got to help make sure the baby's safe and make sure that this couple gets some help that they need.
Just to help people out there, on Amazon, for $14, you can buy a one-time breast milk alcohol analyzing test.
Oh my! If you
$14,
but if you got to buy that, you got to really change a lot of things about your life.
The train has left the
Valid
station
point.
Yes.
All right. Lena Dunham posted a nude selfie of herself on Instagram, only to have one of her male followers tell her that she was not taking a picture of her breasts correctly. Okay, so she posted this photo of herself, and one of her followers said, "You're supposed to hold the boobs up over the arm to enhance the cleavage. Getting a smushed down effect here instead. You're still cute though. Kiss." So, one of Lena's followers, another one of her followers, Tyler McCall said, "Shout out to this guy, mansplaining, taking nudes as a woman with breasts to Lena Dunham on her own Instagram." Lena Dunham then responded saying, "This guy seems very fun. I'd love to hang with him casually. Thanks, G. I was so worried about flattening my boobs and had zero skills to combat it."
The guy's a makeup artist.
So,
he's in charge of making girls look good.
Is that true?
He's a makeup artist. He's a fun makeup artist who has like these weird photos on his Instagram of him naked with like one of those donut rafts. You know, those donut floaties, and his ass is out. And I do think he would. I think she means it. If she looked at his Instagram, he seems like he's fun to hang out with casually. I think he was joking. I think it was a joke. I think.
Plus,
because there's a way to say that that's like actually you're supposed to squeeze your boobs until they appear above. Like that's more like making fun of the idea of women on Instagram who are craning their boobs into awkward situations. Like there's a way to read that joke where it at least has a premise that I understand.
Where he's parroting some of the aspects of the way that women pose on Instagram.
He didn't seem like the enemy when I started researching Instagram.
No, I don't
seem like the enemy to me before researching his Instagram.
Yeah, well,
I mean, okay, but anyway, yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, here's my thing. Is I think
I hate to mansplain. I understand that's probably what I'm doing at this present time.
Well, you're interrupting me now, so it's like twofold. No, all I was gonna say was that I think for both scenarios, with Lena Dunham talking about how she posed, and additionally, this guy, whether he was being a parody or he was actually trying to mansplain how to pose, I think it's with all of the implications that women are doing these sorts of poses for the male gaze, right? And so he is saying that you're supposed to show
as a male gaze,
cleavage for men to appreciate, whereas she's like, oh, I'm just posing a picture of my body, and maybe Instagram models are doing it for male gaze, or maybe they're just doing it for themselves because they think that's how it looks sexy. And this is something that I think I get in the debate with different people a lot about, is that a lot of the times when women pose in ways that they feel is sexy, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily trying to appeal to men for that. Maybe they're just doing it because that's what makes them feel sexy, and maybe that's what she was doing in this position. It doesn't matter how necessarily she cupped her breasts.
Okay, I was pretty sure they were doing it for the male non-gays, but anyway,
male straights.
So this guy apparently takes, based on Brett's exhaustive research in this on the story, takes naked selfies. So he might have actually been trying to give her helpful advice.
Yeah, he does take naked selfies.
He's got a naked selfie on there, right?
He does have
naked, regardless of whether he takes all of his entire Instagram as naked selfies, you don't get to like go and give somebody else who you don't know advice to be like, oh, you should give yourself better cleavage.
I mean, you are projecting onto him what he meant by it, which is valid. Yeah, go for it. Read it.
You're supposed to hold the boobs up over the arm to enhance the cleavage. That's what I just said. I'm not projecting. I'm reading verbatim.
But there's a way to say that where it's like, actually, when you take an Instagram photo, you're supposed to look off into the distance like this.
No, I understand.
Like she is actually doing it.
I understand your parody point, but then he says you're still cute though, which is just so like belittling.
But I think it could also be read as his way. And listen, if we're having this debate, he's not doing it very well, right? Okay. But I'm just saying, benefit of the doubt, having looked at this guy's full Instagram, it seems like he's not the enemy here.
Let's broaden this story a little bit, okay? So I think in this case, I don't know if he's trying to be a parody. I don't think he's an enemy. I think he just might be misinformed maybe about how you're supposed to interact online or with women in general. Now, to take it away just from Lena Dunham specifically, I have an Instagram where on almost every single picture, I get comments about how I'm posing incorrectly, how my hair, I look cuter with different hair, so this is something that women face on a daily basis, where men are telling them how they, need to look to be more appealing to men. And I think that's a huge problem that we face, where men feel it's okay to give women these sorts of feedback, but are just sources of criticism and just a source of trolling. And so even if he's being a parody, he's still trolling here and using
That's
the
not
idea.
true. That's not necessarily true that he is trolling. He's not trolling. He could possibly not be trolling, because if he's satirizing the common enemy that they have of, like, folks who do, like, weird contorted
You're
selfies.
still cute though, but come on.
I think if that's his way of doing it. I'm saying he's not exactly doing it right, but he might just be a victim of kettling here.
Possible, but
where we're kettling terrible, terrible misogynists with this seemingly fun, happy, body positive makeup artist. Look at it as he uses it.
I will give you the benefit of the doubt that maybe this guy isn't the enemy and we can't lump him in with all misogynists, but this
It's
story.
a naked photo with a cat in front of his junk.
This story is
in a mirror.
So a pussy in front of his dick.
Oh God.
This story is indicative of a. Jeez, Brett.
Sorry.
This story is
terrible.
indicative of a larger misogynistic culture, especially when it comes to male gaze on Instagram.
So I hear you, Hannah, and I'm probably being a little bit of a jerk here, but one, I don't think it's a federal case. Two, I feel like Lena Dunham does everything in her power to attract all of the energy in the world onto herself. So when more of that comes her direction, I somehow feel like she's not really heartbroken over it.
I don't necessarily. I mean, who knows? I doubt she's heartbroken, whether it was a troll or a parody or whatever. That I don't think is the issue. And I don't. And I'm with you that I don't agree with everything that Lena Dunham says or does in the way that she is carrying out her personal brand. But I do think that this is a larger problem than I think.
No, I totally get the mass effect of thousands of people over time actually doing terrible stuff.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So, when Hannah made this story larger, then I think you're right, it has more relevance because it's happening to a lot of women, and in much worse ways. But in this particular story, I think that if you take a naked selfie with your breasts, that people are going to comment on your breasts. Is that crazy?
No, I don't think that's the problem. I don't think it's commenting on the breasts. I think it's saying that you are trying to make yourself sexy and appeal to someone else. Look, I will be completely honest that I have taken pictures where I was not clothed or in lingerie, and that was for me because I felt sexy. I didn't send those to my boyfriend, sorry babe, but those are just for me, and I think that there's some sort of assumption that if you take a picture of yourself in this position that it's for somebody else, and that's what he was commenting on.
I know, but it's on Instagram.
Yeah,
if I took a picture,
it's not for you.
But
it's for everyone else.
But it can't be for you to feel sexy, and it's not like you're posting for
still
somebody
a way
else.
that implies you're relying on positive reinforcement for it. Because otherwise you wouldn't put it out there with a like button underneath.
It depends how you view social media. It depends how you.
I kind of agree with. No, I kind of agree with both of you because I think that's why Anthony Weiner keeps sending out his pictures of his junk because he's proud of it, right? And he's like, "Well, look at this thing; it's really big,"
But you can't deny that he has
Anthony Weiner's sex problem.
Okay, so he has another set of issues, but Geraldo Rivera, he's 70 and he took a shirtless picture of himself because he has a six-pack or something. You know what? If I was 70, it's a little embarrassing, but if I was 70 and I had a six-pack, I'd have 100 pictures on Instagram, and because I thought it was going to turn anybody on,
because I was proud of it. Body positivity for the win.
So I agree with you, nonetheless. But on the other hand, if I took a picture of my gut without a shirt right now today and put it on Instagram, and then people commented on my gut, I would rightly, wrongly, positively, negatively, I would think that was the most normal thing that I could possibly expect. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but that's a singular instance, whereas women have to deal with this on a daily basis where I'm constantly told to change my body or smile from the person I check out with at the cashier. So I think there's broader implications in this particular story.
I think the bigger story is how she tagged her own naked selfie, #my 6th grade history teacher, Lori.
I think I missed that
weird, a naked selfie, and then you talk about your history teacher in 6th grade.
Like we said, we don't agree with everything Lena Dunham does.
Yes, well, either way, Lena, mission accomplished.
I think she had short hair.
All right.
Okay. All right, we're out of time. We do have a post-game for you guys. It's a mystery post-game because we have not yet discussed what we're going to discuss.
It's a mystery to all of us.
Right, but you will enjoy it. So that's tytnetwork.com/join. All right.